You don't have to be a political expert to guess that the parliamentary elections in Syria won't be heading for a nail-biting finish. If ever there was a foregone conclusion, then this is probably it.
Voting is a national duty. We have to cast our votes to foil the conspiracy and, by God's will, to boost internal reforms.
It's actually the third time that Syria, or what is left of it currently, has been to the polls since the war began 5 years ago. In 2012, the country held parliamentary elections. Most of the 250 parliamentarians elected were Assad supporters, either Ba'ath members or of groups aligned with the ruling party. Whilst in 2014 there was a presidential poll with predictable results, Bashar al-Assad won 88%. Syria today is effectively a rump state compared to how it was 5 years ago when the war started, with vast tracts of land outside the control of the Assad regime. Syrians outside of the country have called on those in regime-held areas to boycott the election.
We are talking about a parliamentary election, but without voters. The Syrian regime only controls 20% of the country, which has only 5 million out of 23 million of the Syrian population. Also, the Syrian regime has already lost its legitimacy since they started killing the Syrian people. So these elections are not legitimate.
Observers of politics in Syria over the years have a more cynical view of why there is an election taking place.
Well, I think it's mostly a tactic that the regime has employed in order to give the impression that everything is normal. So I think it's mostly a way to show that regardless of the issue of Geneva talks, Bashar al-Assad regime is still, well functioning. The political scene is also normal in Syria, and it's a way of putting some pressure also on the international community.
But this is the reality that is Syria today, utter devastation that has decimated the country over 5 years of warfare. The United Nations believe over 250,000 people have been killed, whilst an estimated 9 million Syrians have fled their homes. 3 million are outside of the country. Quite clearly, despite the wishes of those in power in Damascus, this is not an election that's going to be considered legitimate or indeed representative of the Syrian people. Francis Collings, TRT World.